Welcome. Today we are talking to Gillian Maddigan. She is a non-verbal communication specialist, and Gillian has been with us from the very beginning of putting the vision together of WEFest and all of the logistical elements to actually have this first event happening in a very short time. Thank you very much for joining me.
Pleasure.
So I am having a chat to all the committee members, all the facilitators on the day. I want the attendees and this WEFest community to really know like the behind the scenes of what we've been working on. So our first meetup, was that in February?
Was a little bit earlier than that, wasn't it?
Yeah, okay.
Maybe. It's a long time ago. It was definitely before March 8.
Yes. So the idea came through, I haven't shared this story actually. On the 8th of December, I was on a plane flying to Hawaii. I had a chat to a friend and she just said, give me your genius Aquarian wisdom of what would make a festival like out of this world. And for me straight away, I just said women's only. Just seemed very natural. It was really quite powerful when it came through. It was an idea that I then put out to the Facebook land. I had 80 women come back in straight away and say, yes, I want to be a part of helping put this together, facilitate. At that stage, it was just a festival. Now we have 3 events and a festival. So I'd love to hear the first message that you saw pop up on Facebook. I guess what drew you in to being a part of the organisation of WEFest?
Well, for me, there was only one thing, and it was a women's event, because it was interesting. About 25 years ago, maybe about 23 years ago, there was a group of women who I was the junior, and these women were amazing, and I just jumped on their bandwagon, and we organised International Women's Day festival, and it's when International Women's Day wasn't such a big deal. So on the 8th of March, hence that reference. And we did an amazing job of putting the festival together and having everything, but we actually didn't do enough on inviting people in the door. So the people that came it was fantastic, but we didn't have enough people come through the door. And I went, oh, this sounds like an opportunity to make something really happen. And we've got social media and we've got ways of interacting with people that we never had back, 23 years ago. Or it might even be 25. I can't remember. It's a long time ago. But we were so enthusiastic, and it was really quite huge. It was at Carrara Stadium, and before the stadium was all zhuzhed as it is now. And I was just so excited, and I went, I really want to be part of this, and I can see all these, when we had our first meeting, I could see all these ideas that were coming through, all these different women, and I went, oh yeah, I could be part of this. I think it feels good. So it's a bit of a completion thing for me.
Yeah, I love it. And it's evolved quite dramatically, but I feel like because you were at that first event, that first meetup, when we had a trillion ideas, do you see that they're actually starting to all form? We're actually doing them all.
Pretty much. In some form or another, they're actually, whether it's happening over the individual events or the festival itself, or they're all falling into place. I remember when you said that it was going to be, I can't remember the date now. When was the first date that we set?
9th of November.
No, and I freaked out. I was just like, 9th of November, there's so much going on at that time, and I'm going. But when we found out, when we put in place that 9th of November wasn't really going to work, and February came in, it was just like this, that feels so good.
Perfect. And it's the evolution of it has been very interesting. This is something very different than I've ever been a part of. So to have that first meetup where it's an idea, let's throw in everyone's ideas, expertise, experience, feelings, and let's see how this evolves, to now coming into the very first event, let's say in 6 months of us preparing everything, which is really a short space in time for what we're doing and what we're creating, really, essentially. To think that we only had the venue 2 months, not even?
Not even 2 months.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it might be just 2 months, yeah.
Yeah. See, you can do anything.
Well, the whole process has been really interesting because we've asked for the venue, we've asked for the date, and people have been throwing all these different venues at us and different ideas, and we've just gone through and gone, oh, that looks really good. Go there on the day and then go, oh, this and this. Remember, we wanted this and this, and so we'd tick them off and get rid of them. And it was almost like this shedding process. We had to build it up and then filter it through, and then the gold is sitting there.
Exactly. Perfect way to look at it, because for me personally, I've seen the evolution, and to me it's rolling. And for me, it is a great way to look at it, the way you've described it, because essentially we had all the ideas, and then it was yes, no, trial and error to a degree without actually producing the events yet. It's going to the venues and looking at all of the logistics, because there is a lot to put into place. And have you found that it has flowed still quite freely for it to come to this point?
Pretty much. So the flow has been there, but what I found really interesting was, and this is how I actually like to work, I'm a flock herd kind of person. I'm not tribal. I don't really like leadership like this. I like the flock and the herd kind of experience. So when someone's up and they're ready and waiting to lead, they just get in there and do it, and they stand up and go, yep, I can do this part. Or if there's stuff going on in their lives, they drop back and someone else steps in. So there's no one person that's going, I'm making all the decisions, this is how it's done. There's this weaving, and I really enjoy that, because it puts less pressure on an individual, and it brings more that community working together without the tribal hierarchy. You know what I mean? So I feel that that's more in flow, rather than, this is the way it goes and I've got to make the way happen. And
yeah, definitely. And we've had lots of almost all of the above, really, at different times. I personally have been feeling like I'm moving into very different roles myself. So for the evolution of all of us, it's made us grow in different ways than we probably ever anticipated of the event itself. It's showing us the way, really.
That's right. It's just keeping that thread in there of women, and honouring the woman and how she can forge that path with community, which is really resonates with me. That's the kind of stuff that I like working with. I don't just work with women. I work with quite a few men, but really this aspect and that creativity, I love creativity. It's the really looking outside the box and looking in the circle, because the circle actually has no sides. It doesn't have any corners it can get jammed up in, but there's also that opportunity that the circle's not solid. It's made up of individuals, and there's spaces where other people can come in and make that circle bigger.
Love it. Yeah. I love it. So I would love to know a bit more about what you do. I know, but the audience would love to know. And there's a lot. So we could go in any direction, but first of all, what do you feel that you really work with a lot of women that would potentially be coming to this event? What are the similarities that you find with your clients that you think are going to also get a lot out of these events?
Well, for me, the way I like to work is getting people to actually step into their identity, step into their own spotlight, feel confident that they can step into that spotlight and be who they are. Now, if you look at me, I'm not out of the box kind of person. Like, I'm constantly in flux and constantly in change. And So my story in relation to identity and in relation to communication actually started when I moved from New Guinea to Australia, and I found myself totally a fish out of water, literally, because I went from this lovely tropical paradise to central West Queensland, where it was dry as a bone and freezing cold. Like, it was so cold. So tropics to freezing cold. And not only that, I'm Indian background, and no one knew what an Indian was. Even though I look like a Mohican at the moment, they all thought that I actually came from America. So it was all, you know, feathers and, ooh, you know, kind of attitude. And even as a 7-year-old, I knew they were on the wrong continent. So for me, it was all, and also I had this weird name. So my name was Gillian with a G, and it was Mullah with umlauts. So I was constantly trying to identify who I was to everyone else. My name is not Gillian Mullah, it's Gillian Mullah, and I'm Indian, and, you know, I speak English, but not English like anyone else spoke. So there was this constant desire to be recognized, to be identified for who I was. So through my schooling, it was a real struggle, and I learned how to be very invisible in moments of challenge, because there was lots of different cultures there, and there's lots of, you know, you belong to here and you belong to there kind of thing. And so I spent a lot of time up until I was 14 hiding a lot, and struggling a fair bit to communicate. So you can see why I actually have chosen to identify with identity and communication, and especially the non-verbal, because I have a background in trained background in psychosomatic therapy and clinical hypnosis and NLP. So 23 years of working as a therapist, as a coach and a trainer. I love getting in there and rattling people's belief systems and cages about who they think they are or who they think they need to be accepted out there. And really, so for me, women who are really struggling with their identity or being honest about who they are, and, you know, social media gives you an opportunity. You can fake it or you can be real. Now, too many people try to be everything for everyone. And in actual fact, you'll be very little to most people. Very little to most people. But you will be real to the people that are attracted to you, who are, you know, you being real. So that's my passion, as you can hear. But I really like to look beyond all the verbal chatter. I like to read the person that has created their physical identity, their bone structure. They talk to me without speaking. Just reading a face, reading a body, knowing how they've developed who they are right to this moment in time and how it's going to impact on their future. So yes, your history is your history, but if you don't understand it and understand how it's influencing you, it can mess up your present and your future. So for me is, how do you stand in your spotlight with confidence? And how do you manage and master your own body language or your body talk, your body gossip? If it's body gossip if you don't know what you're doing. It's body talk when you're actually a conscious communicator. So for me, it's about working with people who are really ready to step into their own spotlight and really shine with confidence, of course.
Perfect. And that is empowering. Really, at the end of the day, all of that is getting to a place that you feel empowered. It's self-empowerment. So it really does align with those that you work with are exactly the ladies that will be attracted to these events. So your presence, your energy, your expertise, everything that you've experienced in your past personally and then in your working career, it is a beautiful energy to have around creating these events as well. Because of that insight and the perspective that you have, it's a very different energy than a lot of us that are putting together all of our visions as well. So like you said, the community that comes together, as a circle, we've got all these amazing elements that come from all these different backgrounds and perspectives, that it's what's making these events become what they actually are, and they're coming to life. This could have been an idea that went nowhere.
Very true. Very true. The other thing that's helped me grow within this aspect, within the festival or the WEFest experience, is that I've done 23 years of working in festivals. So really big ones, Mind, Body, Spirit, traveling all over Australia, doing them, you know, set up to 7 or 8 shows a year, which is pretty full on. Like it's out, they're the big ones. They're not the little ones that you go and, you know, see about 20 people. These are really big ones. So in working in those and then coming to WEFest and going, okay, we're not doing one of those. We're not doing one of those. We're doing something different, that's what really, I went, yeah, how can we do this different? And when you came up with those ideas and other people's input came in, I go, okay, so how can we manage this differently? How can we make it look different? So when people come, they're not expecting the same old, same old. They're really getting to experience these people that are delivering or sharing or engaging with them in a different way. So that's really that's my evolution through WEFest.
Yeah, I love that. And it's exactly, we are doing something different. I didn't have that perspective. I was just going with these visions that were coming through that felt right for me when we're all coming together and saying our ideas. And then also having other people's input to say, no, this is very different. Actually, we're about experiences. We're here to have interaction. This is a deep connection that we want to form with everyone that organises, committee members, the facilitators, the attendees. All of that are communities within itself. So that was such a big part to play in. We want to deliver a service, but we're not here to tell people what to do. We're not here to sell products. We're not here to do something that feels a little surface level. We're here to guide you back to you in a way that you may have never experienced before. So that to me is what's really ringing through now. I've had a chat to the facilitators today, and it's all really dropping in that experiences, because it's different. No one's doing this. Events are used to going to see, okay, who do I need help with? What do I need to buy? It's very, very different. Whereas we're here to connect and chat and actually share experiences with what we've learned. That's what's really helped us in our life. So that's what I can't wait to really experience in this first event, delivering this, because articulating it doesn't land is what I've found until people are there feeling it, and now they got that whole vision of, oh, and now I need to know what you mean when you say experience. It is different. So you pinpointed that. Thank you for sharing that.
And so, and that's the aspect. So what I do actually is really hard to explain. Like, how do I explain to someone what I do? Now, you've experienced what I do, and how do I explain that to someone? Well, I can't. It's actually an experience that you need to have at a personal level. Like, I can read your face, but it's not something I can explain, how to read your face or how to read your body or how to read your history and how you communicate or anything like that, until I can go, well, I can read your face, but what does that mean? There's nothing underneath that until you experience it, and then you go, oh, how do you know all that about me? Well, your body's talking, your face, you've created it. So who you've been is actually who you are, and it impacts on who you're going to be. So which bits do you want? Which bits do you want to get rid of? And there's an opportunity also at WEFest is to really look at yourself and go, okay, yes, it's empowering, but it's also to look at your dark side as well as your light. Because if you don't recognize your dark side, then there's no movement into the light. It's the dark side will always be your excuse not to do something.
Totally. And that's the point we get to in our personal journey that I feel can get us stuck at the end of the road going, we're not going any further, we'll tiptoe, oh no, we're not doing that. And I feel like that's where we can really get stuck essentially in the healing journey. At what point are we diving in? That's when connection and community comes into place for me. This is why I feel we're creating these events as well, is we get to a certain part that we can't do on our own, or we might not want to do. So we have another practitioner, therapist, whatever you want to call ourselves. We have a group, we have an event, we have the potential for us to step into our shadow selves, the darker parts of ourselves. That doesn't have to be traumatic, daunting, stressful. It actually can be really quite enlightening and empowering when we're doing it in a group, when we're actually looking at ourselves and thinking, oh yeah, I do that, or oh, I wasn't realizing that that's my behavior in that moment, and you can shift that. So we're giving those opportunities at WEFest because it's so much easier to do it in a group, to be able to think, oh, actually, I'm not the only one, I'm not going crazy, all of the things that we have in our mind, that we can come together and really get through the nitty gritty stuff that's so hard to do on your own, and that a lot of us just don't know how to. That's why we're all here to support one another.
It's very easy to get stuck in a pond, you know, in this tiny little pond of our life. And it doesn't matter how much we swim around in that pond, it's still this closed environment. And as soon as you get with other people, they're standing on the sides of your pond and going, that's not what it looks like from here. You know, maybe we need to dig a trench and put some fresh water in here. You know, here, let me put some buckets of fresh water in there so you can actually get out of your own sludge and float to the surface and see that, oh, you could get out of here and do something different. You can always come back, but, you know, there's opportunities out there. But until you actually, you know, see the people on your shoreline, you know, nothing really happens after that. You just keep going round and round and round and round and getting more and more deep in your own sludge. So it's good to have other people out there. And it can be really difficult. Like I must say that it can be really difficult listening to other people's perspective on your situation when you're so involved and you're so, you know, trapped by it. And then someone comes along and goes, yeah, no, that's not what it looks like. And you go, yes, it is. and then you hear other people going, they've got other different perspectives. And you're going, oh, maybe where I am is not really the only way I can do things. But until you actually invite those people to give you feedback, to give you, you can see it as criticism, but really, it's just an opinion. It's just a perspective. It's just an opportunity, you know. So the WEFest actually gives you that opportunity to go around and have a look at what is out there and allow people to give you a perspective on your situation. And it may not be comfortable. It may not be loving and gorgeous in the moment. It may be discomforting. But discomfort is good, because it's an opportunity for change. And that's really cool.
Totally. And because there is a group, it does make it easier, essentially. Really, at the end of the day, it's, you've got to let out all of those layers and all the burdens that you don't realize you're carrying. And the next minute, you know, everyone else is having similar experiences, and then it's enjoyable. Then you've gone through some epic shit and it's enjoyable.
That's right. I'm not alone. Oh my God.
So I can't even imagine what will come from the first event, how it will feel, just being there. It's going to be such a joy to experience. Do you feel? It's because we've been here from the beginning. For us to be there on the day, just really feeling into it, it's going to be such a good experience.
Definitely. I'm really looking forward to it. You know, we've only got, 4 days to go?
Yes. 3 less.
4 days to go.
So if people want to know more about you and about what you do, we'll make sure all your links are there. Are you happy for people to contact you to
definitely.
Get to know?
Yeah. Yep. Easy peasy. And there's so many different ways. There's a website, there's Facebook, there's Instagram, there's my phone. I'm cool with all of them. If I'm available, I will answer you straight away. If I'm not, I will answer you.
Perfect. But otherwise, come to Southport Community Centre on Sunday, 16th of June, a couple of days, and join us to the very first events. We are talking about the health journey. This is the beginning of the whole pathway to empowerment. We'd love to see you, meet you, get to know you, join you, be part of this community. There's so much potential for other people to be a part of this growing evolution of events and festivals. Jump on board, help us keep working at it, be a facilitator. We really do welcome people in. There are no doors shut. They're completely open all the time for people to come and go, as you've suggested. Thank you very much for your time, Gillian. I look forward to sharing this experience with you on Sunday.
Me too. Blessings.